Hey, welcome to another video and another story. Glad to have you here. Today we're back with more of the Regenerate Top Players recap. The last part didn't get a ton of views, but we'll keep going for a few more and see how it goes. So, in the last episode, we saw Bai Qi get killed by a mysterious figure and end up reincarnating in Game of Thrones. Unfortunately, he wakes up in one of the most dangerous levels, which is bad news since he's only got one life now. And then, at the end of the last part, he faced off against a high-level monster. But thanks to his past experience, he dodged the moves and managed to take it down without too much trouble. This recap's just to catch everyone up. If you missed the last part, definitely check that out first to get up to speed. You can click on the video card to the right or check out the full playlist for this manhwa. Alright, let's jump into the next part. With that in mind, he got up and started to leave, but the others called out after him. Wait a minute, brother. You're really not considering my suggestion? There are a lot of powerful people here. If we leave together, our chances of survival will be way higher. Just let us down and you can have whatever you want. Gold coins, equipment, anything. Hearing their pleas, Princess Mina, who had finally snapped out of her unconscious state, spoke up. Okay, Gray, there's no need to beg. If you can't escape using your own strength, then it's not worth dying here. If we can't overcome this misery, how can we tackle the bigger dangers on the road to restoring our kingdom? The princess's sudden voice caught Gray off guard since he didn't even realize she was awake. Ignoring him, she turned to Bai Qi and assessed him. Level 1 noob, huh? Your choice wasn't the best, but I respect it. Even though you seem pretty confident, I want to give you a little advice. The line between life and death is super thin. You've got to be careful with your actions. Even when things get tough, can you keep your cool and grace? It's no wonder you're the queen who's going to bring our kingdom back. Mina, you're a total genius. And yeah, I've got my own plan too. Honestly, I didn't want to say it because I figured you wouldn't believe me. But trust me, I'm definitely coming back to save all of you. Hearing this, House just lost it, like he'd swallowed poison. He was like, are you kidding us? You think we're that dumb? The princess next to him had to tell him to chill out. Enough, House. If you've got that much energy to throw insults, why not use it to figure out how to escape? Meanwhile, Bai Qi was focused on what he already knew and kept thinking things over. According to the storyline, even if I don't save them, they'll find a way to escape anyway. But if I don't actually rescue them, I'll miss out on some sweet achievement rewards connected to Princess Mina. So do I rescue them or not? Guess it depends on whether I can get out smoothly and what kind of rewards I'm looking at. Sure, Mina's important, but I've got to make sure I survive first. This dungeon? It's the final level of Chapter 1 in the game. There's a bunch of cool stuff hidden here. At first, I scoured every corner of the dungeon to get everything. I know this place like the back of my hand. So, if I want to deal with the least and weakest enemies, I've got to go this way. And I've got to rescue another important character too. With memories from his past runs, Bai Qi safely made his way to the dungeon's treasure vault. In front of him was this strange jar. As if sensing him, the jar started to speak. Who's there? Wait, this smell... You're not one of those mutated beasts. Come closer, don't be afraid. Right, you're probably wondering how this jar can talk. Well, it's not really the jar talking. It's me, the guy stuck inside. Yep, that's right. I'm inside here. I came into this dungeon searching for treasure, but when those mutated demon beasts attacked, I hid in here. Then somehow their magic sealed me in, and now I'm stuck. I can't get out, no way. You've got to break the jar to set me free. Don't worry though, I can sense the area. There aren't any beasts around, so it's safe. Without a second thought, Bai Qi swung his stick and shattered the jar. As it broke, a person emerged, Lu Qi, level 27. He was also pretty mysterious. Even the system didn't know what his class was. After escaping the jar, he gave Bai Qi a once-over. Level 1 noob? Interesting. Well, either way, I owe you one. I'll grant you a reasonable request. Not missing a beat, Bai Qi asked for help. My friends were captured by the mutated beasts in this dungeon. I want to rescue them, but I'm too weak. Could you help me out, Lu Qi Sr.? Ah, I see. Brave, but not exactly wise, Lu Qi replied, smirking a little. But hey, you're in luck because you met me. With me around, you'll be safe. Let me lead the way. And with that, the two of them set off. But of course, bad luck's always just around the corner. As they walked, they unexpectedly ran into a monster. Well, not just any monster. This was a full-grown, level 18 mutated beast. And it was definitely a lot tougher than the one Bai Qi had beaten before. As soon as they ran into the beast, Lu Qi caught a familiar scent and quickly recognized it. It was the same beast that had trapped him in the jar. With his fiery temper, he charged forward, ready to fight. Lu Qi's strength was insane. With one powerful blow, he struck the monster, taking down a huge chunk of its health. As he fought, he was cursing it out. "You nearly got me killed in that jar, go to hell!" Fueled by years of pent-up rage, he made quick work of the beast, slicing its head off in one swift move. Bai Qi, watching from behind, was seriously impressed. "Lu Qi Sr., you're amazing, so strong!" Lu Qi grinned, loving the praise. Resting his sword on his shoulder, he replied, "Well, what can I say? I wouldn't have dared to come treasure hunting in this dungeon without a bit of confidence. Let's keep moving." With Lu Qi leading the way, they eventually reached a ledge deeper in the dungeon. Bai Qi spoke up. "It's here. I heard my friend's voice coming from down there. I just don't know if he's still holding on." "Lu Qi, Sr., we need to get down there fast to rescue him," Bai Qi said urgently. Without a moment's hesitation, Lu Qi came up with what he thought was the fastest solution. He simply stood behind Bai Qi and gave him a solid kick straight into the abyss. Turns out, Lu Qi wasn't just hot-tempered. He also had more guts than brains. As he suddenly found himself falling, Bai Qi could only scream, free-falling down the dark chasm. Sitting comfortably above, Lu Qi finally let his true nature show. "My apologies, but I have an old condition. Anytime I see someone standing on a cliff, I can't resist kicking them off." He shrugged, adding, "Honestly, I could have controlled the urge. You did save me after all. But who told you to be a genius, huh? Geniuses. Anyone who meets one has to knock them down. It's just how things go." As Bai Qi tumbled below, he was genuinely puzzled. "Wait, how did he even know I was a genius?" Hearing Bai Qi's voice echoing up from the abyss surprised Lu Qi too. "You're still alive after that fall? Incredible." Looking up from the ground, Bai Qi, barely hanging on with a sliver of health, managed to smile. "If I jumped down, I'd be a goner for sure. But since you kicked me, I can't die." Although, he thought to himself, "Sure, I survived. But that doesn't make the pain of having my insides crushed any less real." Fortunately, he remembered that there was a tool hidden down here that he could still grab. Thanks to that little push, Bai Qi managed to grab the Blood Soul Flask and a piece of Hui Guang Stone. After realizing his attempt to off Bai Qi had failed, Lu Qi turned to leave, grumbling to himself. "I've heard geniuses can be really weird. Maybe I shouldn't have kicked him down after all. Should have just stabbed him in the back instead. What a waste. But hey, you're stuck down in this deep abyss. Only a matter of time before you kick the bucket. Just wait for your slow demise." Now, a bit more about Lu Qi. He's a shady NPC who gets a kick out of kicking players off cliffs in the original game. But if you play your cards right and use his tendency to kick players, you can access a lot of hidden areas. The twist? This whole genius thing has never shown up in the Soul King's game. Bai Qi thought to himself, "System, what's the deal with this genius nonsense?" The system replied, "Okay, kid, most info about geniuses is locked. The only thing I can tell you is that they're people who've come back from the dead for some unknown reason." Seeing the system's frustration, Bai Qi couldn't help but speculate. "Locked info? This setting is clearly important. No time to waste. I need to figure out who's trying to kill me. This genius identity is way too complicated. I need to be careful about how I handle things so I don't end up capsizing the boat right in the middle of the river. For now, though, that's not my main worry. The path ahead might be free of mutated beasts, but it's packed with dangerous terrain. I've got to be mentally prepared. The real danger is just getting started." Soul King's Seat is an open-world action-adventure game, and the way the story unfolds can be pretty fragmented. Players have to dig around for clues from NPCs, monsters, bosses, ruins, and all sorts of other places to piece together the truth about the world. As someone who's cleared all the levels and snagged every achievement, I know this world inside and out. Well, except for the unknown stuff, of course. In the heart of this imagined world called Pascalo, there's this giant crystal known as the World Soul. Under its protective light and energy, all the species live together in harmony. Everything was thriving until one day, an alien spaceship called the Unmanned Deep Space Probe crashed into this world out of nowhere. And wouldn't you know it, the crash site was right where the World Soul was located. That's when the foundation of this world started to crumble. Pascalo was teetering on the edge of extinction, but it didn't just end or get destroyed. Instead, the world continued to split apart, creating even more diverse species and civilizations than before. Right now, I'm in the abandoned ruins of an ancient underground civilization. Deep within these ruins, there's an unmarked underground exit. The mission only says to survive long enough to reach the exit, but it doesn't specify where that exit is. This gives me a bit of room to explore, but even though this path isn't crawling with mutated beasts, the risk of dying here is way higher than taking the main route. I have to nail the jump off the rock wall, and if I miscalculate my landing, it's game over. But for someone like me who's learned from countless deaths, making it to the bottom of this abyss isn't really the issue. The tricky part is that as I get closer to the bottom, the metallic platform gets narrower, leaving less room for error. I have to be super careful and keep track of every foothold. Just when I thought I was being careful, I slipped. But with all my experience, Bai Qi quickly found his balance again and continued to descend. When I finally found a good spot to take a breather, I looked down and broke out in a cold sweat. That was way too close. Even though I was trying to be careful, I nearly slipped. I really need to watch my step even more. I was almost at the bottom when suddenly, a grinning figure popped up behind me. He slapped me on the back and said, Well, almost at the exit, huh? So the exit is down here? The sudden appearance made Bai Qi jump, and he quickly turned around. Better safe than sorry. Not wanting to get ambushed, he swung his stick at the stranger. But the guy was quick and dodged behind him without breaking a sweat. Now I was left puzzled, wondering who this guy was. He looked at Bai Qi and casually remarked, Oh, a level 1 noob, huh? But he also seemed to know our protagonist had a hot temper, even if he was weak. After scaring me, he quickly apologized. This guy was XAV, level 30, and he was a human elementalist. His friendly facade vanished in an instant, revealing a cruel expression. He figured it was a bad move to startle Bai Qi. In his mind, the best option was to just pierce him through the heart and take him out before he could even yawn. But Bai Qi still had no clue who this guy was. He wondered what the jerk was doing, showing up behind him and acting all tough. What was the point of that? But then he remembered. This was the same guy who had died at the bottom of the abyss where Bai Qi had just picked up that tool. That realization hit him. This guy was a genius, just like him. Before Bai Qi could fully process that, the guy was already prancing closer with a grin. Still, he felt the need to talk before launching an attack. You're a bit slow to react, but I can't really blame you. I mean, compared to someone like me, reborn as a level 28 elementalist, your fate as a level 1 noob is just plain bad luck. You're basically a supporting character. I don't even want to kill you. But even though he claimed he didn't want to harm him, he lunged forward and took away half of Bai Qi's health in an instant. Not only did Bai Qi lose health, but he also found himself paralyzed and completely helpless. Pain shot through him, and he started coughing. Blood even splattered from his mouth like he had tuberculosis. Clutching his wound, he gasped, Why? We have no grudges. Why are you attacking me? We're both geniuses. Shouldn't we be helping each other escape this mess? Help each other? Are you kidding me? Oxave scoffed. Didn't your system tell you? Geniuses are enemies to everyone. And your biggest enemy? It's the genius you were reborn from. I thought you knew these paths well. I thought you had something special about you, but turns out you don't even know the basics. You really wasted your chance to be reborn, man. As a genius myself, I felt pretty belittled by this guy's attack. I tried to fight back and told him to get lost, but of course he didn't believe a word I said. My firm response just made him chuckle a bit, but he didn't care at all. He looked down on me, a level 1 noob. You don't get it, and you're right. Just go away. I don't want to waste any more time on you. But hey, out of respect for you guiding me, I won't kill you directly. Whether you live or die is on you. If you're lucky enough to survive, feel free to come find me for some revenge. With that, the crazy guy wrapped up his little speech and disappeared without actually finishing me off, leaving me there with a million questions. I immediately asked the system, why is this happening? What's the deal with geniuses in this world? What crucial info are you hiding from me? But the system replied that it wasn't hiding anything. It was up to me to unlock that information. Thanks to the special events I'd been through, I could now access hidden info about geniuses. One key thing I learned: in this world, geniuses are seen as extremely evil and are targets for everyone. The reason behind all this is still a mystery. There's a brutal competition and killing mechanism among geniuses that hasn't been explained. As a player, Bai Qi learned that you can score a ton of soul points, experience points, and blood soul points by taking out geniuses. These points can be used to unlock new accounts. Genius is just a broad term for anyone who's been reborn in this world, and it doesn't stick to just one race. The details are still unclear, but geniuses can be randomly reborn as all kinds of creatures, genders, classes, attributes, and levels. Plus, higher-level geniuses can instantly spot lower-level ones. The specifics are still locked up tight. Each genius starts with an initial class that comes with some unique info tied to this world, except for noobs. Noobs can eventually learn about other classes through class changes later on. As for the differences in each genius's system, that info is still under wraps. Honestly, I'm on the brink of death here. What good does it do to know all this now? The world of Soul King's seat is way more complicated than it seems. But, you know, death just means the story ends. Bai Qi, the author's favorite character, seems to have gotten a buff. Bai Qi started swinging like a monkey, flinging himself around and clinging to the nearby rock walls. Finally, he found a good spot to grab onto. He silently promised himself, "I can't die here. It wasn't easy to get a chance to be reborn, and I can't waste it. I'm almost there. Almost at the bottom of the dungeon." Even though the pain was intense, he had to push through. This was his last gamble. With his determination not to die, Bai Qi fell to the bottom of the dungeon, still feeling paralyzed and helpless. But somehow he landed without breaking anything. Despite his battered body, Bai Qi couldn't help but laugh. He was still alive. He just needed to crawl forward another 10 meters to reach the exit. No matter what, I have to make it out of here, he thought. But then, out of nowhere, he heard a familiar sound and caught a whiff of something unpleasant. His life was just one stroke of bad luck after another, and just when he thought he was free, he stumbled upon a rare monster, a level 25 creek-toothed co-op beast. Seeing it appear completely threw him off. There shouldn't be any monsters around here. This creature was an incredibly odd sight, especially when he was on the verge of death. It only added to his confusion about why the storyline was getting so messed up. Alright guys, that's a wrap on this video. The timing for the next part will depend on your views, likes, and comments, so keep that in mind. Thanks for sticking with us through this one. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like the video. I'll catch you in the next one.